Courtney Victoria, a Nikon D850 and a rather clumsy macro shoot. I am walking around the forest and just picking up off the floor all of the loose little doohickeys that I find that are quite interesting to look at, and I specifically am loving these. So these once looked like this. Bluebells, bright, vibrant, and what is now left are these dried up seed capsules, and some of them still have seeds, black little seeds inside them, but I think they look so delicate, almost lantern-like, and I think this would be really interesting to work with today. So I've got a couple of seed capsule options that I've picked up from the forest floor. So what I'm going to do is just take a moment to see what shapes resonate with me specifically and try and stabilize them by popping them in the moss or the ground. I'm just going to take my time in setting up the scene, the subject, and my composition. So I've decided to keep this pretty simple and not overcomplicate the scene too much, and I'm going with this portrait shot of these 3 capsules. I think an odd number looks quite nice here, and although they're not the prettiest of subjects, admittedly, however, I'm fascinated by them because they have such a story behind them. There's a huge amount of growth that has happened for them to get to this point, and this is essentially the final stage of the bluebell life cycle. So the seeds that I showed you earlier, they can take 5 to 7 years to flower, and they then become seed pods, disperse their seeds across the ground, and they then just wilt into these sort of papery husks and detach from the bulb that's underneath the ground. And there's something almost poetic about it. Things certainly did get poetic as I started to work with the scene. Here are images with natural light, the sun flickering in and out in the background, which I had a feeling could become a problem as I was focus bracketing. Therefore I chose to black out the background and build one myself for complete control, using foil to imitate light coming through the trees, a trick that I found works well before. However, I didn't get the chance to take any more images. So I've made an error. I haven't thought this through very well. First of all, the camera bag and the reflector keep falling over because the ground is uneven. But as you can see, the light, the sun is starting to come out more often, and the sun is shining directly down onto my reflector and making that background very, again, inconsistent and quite harsh. And so what I actually need to do is flip my camera setup and have the camera pointing this way and the camera bag and reflector here so that the sun is behind it. So yeah, this is going to take me a moment. Just bear with me. Setting up a macro scene can take some time, and I admit to some impatience here, which only made things worse. While flipping things, I managed to, my clumsy foot, what it was doing, who knows, I have no control of it. My right foot just managed to clip the top pod, and now it's damaged, and now it doesn't look the same. And the composition also didn't look the same, it just wasn't as good. I wasn't feeling it. Sometimes I'm too clumsy for this. Too clumsy and too impatient for such tiny, finicky things. If I can part any macro wisdom here, it's to avoid rushing and have some patience, as it can easily lead to carelessness. Anyway, let's try this again. So I have been noticing all of these acorns all over the forest floor, and most of them have gone brown and haven't had chance to properly form before finding themselves on the forest floor. But oh gosh, I love a good acorn. And I mean, what don't I love in the forest, to be honest? So once again, I have chosen to set my scene up. So I have taken these twin acorns from the forest floor and I've popped them in the groove of this tree trunk where they will stand up nice and securely. And I'm just going to get on setting up and starting to take photos and try not to destroy this one. So I realised very quickly that to get a tripod in this space was very, very awkward. And actually all I have to do is rest the camera body on top of this tree stump and I'm pretty much where I want to be. However, I needed to lift the back of the body up very slightly. So I've at the moment just pushed my battery case underneath the camera, which is doing the job. However, it's not as stable as a tripod would be or a beanbag would be. And I'm concerned that every time I kind of touch the camera or go to change my focus, it would be very easy for me to accidentally shift the entire setup. So I'm just going to have to be very mindful of that as I am taking photos. So I do want to try some backlit light, and seeing as we are overcast at the moment, I'm going to use lighting to create that effect. So I'm going to pop 2 white lights from Adaptalux onto a gorilla pod, and I'm just positioning them behind my subject but pointing downwards as if sort of to try and imitate the sun coming down through the trees. And notice how it's giving me this beautiful shadow in the foreground there. So I want to make this a little more dramatic light-wise, so I'm going to use a panel light to light the acorns from the front, and because I'm exposing for the acorns, the background is naturally going to become a bit darker, and so those acorns are just going to come forward and stand out very slightly. I'm going to keep one of the lights that is shining down from behind, and then I'm going to use 2 pod mini lights to again light from behind, but this time also lighting up some of the wood texture in the background. I continue to play around with lighting combinations, loving the drama and colour that I could add to the scene. It was interesting to see what I liked and what I didn't like, and I found with colour that going with strong, vibrant, and specifically cool tones was something that I preferred over subtle hints, purposely making everything stand out against the background essentially. The scene is starting to feel a bit too simple, and that background is what is bothering me. There's just nothing in there. I feel the need to fill the space somehow, but I'm not coming up with anything that feels and looks right. I've tried adding colour to the subject, colour to the background. I've tried to imitate sort of sun rays, beams of light coming through in the background, and I just can't seem to do it. So I think I'm going to change my approach. I brought out the trusty water spray and kept experimenting with different blends of shadow and colour, where even the smallest tweak made a huge difference. I cropped in a bit more to let the background take a backseat, and this was genuinely fun to explore. When I first started my macro journey, I couldn't stand the thought of using artificial light and colour, and my how things have changed. So I am starting to run out of battery across multiple devices, the Pod Minis and my D850. And to be fair, I'm using the LCD screen pretty much continuously on my 850 just so I can see real time how I'm changing the scene with the lighting. But I think I have a fair few images to mull over, see what worked, see what didn't work. Maybe I will come up with an idea of how I could have altered the background and sort of filled that space while editing. I am going to tidy up and check that I haven't left anything in this space, especially foil and blue tack. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you next time. Hello last minute lingerers. Three things that I just wanted to run through very, very quickly. I am doing macro workshops this autumn in the Forest of Dean. Feel free to join me. Two, I did some focus bracketing and stacking in this video, and I actually now have an ebook that takes you through an in-depth process guide as to how to do that. And I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. The response I've had from many of you so far in regards to that has been fantastic, so thank you so much. And lastly, I have done everything I can think of to get these lights, these alien looking lights, to sort of stay on my head so I can alien dance for you, and it just doesn't work. I have tried every trick that I can think of, and I'm simply going to have to hold them.